Long before America was called America, a vast and diverse civilization thrived here, but much of their story remains hidden. Before the maps were drawn by newcomers, before the ships crossed the great ocean, this land was not an empty wilderness. It was a continent humming with life, a vast home to countless peoples and nations. Imagine a world where every mountain, river and forest had a name, a story, and a purpose, known intimately by the people who lived there. This was a land of thriving cities, complex societies and deep-rooted traditions that had been growing for thousands of years. It was a place where history was not just written in books but was sung in songs. It is easy to picture Native Americans as a single group, but the reality is beautifully and wonderfully complex. Imagine a continent filled not with one country, but with hundreds of them, each as different from the next as, say, France is from Japan. There were over 500 distinct nations, each with its own language, its own government, and its own unique customs. In the dense forests of the Northeast, nations like the Haudenosaunee lived in longhouses, farming corn, beans, and squash. Their world was profoundly different from that of the Navajo or Dine in the arid Southwest, who wove stunning textiles and created beautiful art. How did the first people arrive in the Americas? It is a story of incredible courage and adaptation that began thousands of years ago. The most widely accepted theory tells of brave hunters and families journeying from Asia across a land bridge called Beringia, which connected modern-day Siberia and Alaska during the last ice age. They were not on a single great migration but likely came in waves over many centuries, following herds of mammoth, bison and other large animals. As the massive ice sheets that covered much of the continent began to melt, these pioneers moved southward, exploring and settling in every corner of these two vast continents. One of the greatest achievements was the domestication of plants, which transformed their societies. In what is now Mexico, ancient farmers took a wild grass called teosinte, and over thousands of years of careful cultivation, developed it into maize or corn. One of the most impressive was the city of Cahokia, located near modern-day St. Louis. The cultural world of Native American nations was woven from threads of deep spirituality, vibrant artistic expression, and thoughtful governance. At the center of it all was a profound connection to the natural world. For many nations, there was no separation between the human world and the world of nature. They were one and the same. Animals, plants, rocks, and rivers were all seen as relatives, imbued with spirit and deserving of respect. This belief shaped their spiritual practices, which were not confined to a single day of the week but were a part of everyday life. Storytelling was another vital thread in this cultural fabric. Stories were more than just entertainment. They were the libraries, the schoolhouses, and the history books of the people. Art was everywhere, a constant expression of beauty and belief. It was in the intricate beadwork on a pair of moccasins, the geometric patterns woven into a blanket, and the graceful lines of a clay pot. Art was not something to be hung on a wall and admired from a distance. It was functional, spiritual, and deeply personal. This sense of balance was also reflected in their systems of government. The arrival of European ships in the late 15th century marked a profound and often tragic turning point in the story of the Americas. This was not a discovery of a new world, but a collision of two old worlds, each with its own long history and deeply held beliefs. For native peoples, this first contact brought things they had never seen before: tall ships, metal armor, guns, and unfamiliar animals like horses. But it also brought invisible invaders that were far more devastating. Diseases like smallpox, measles, and influenza, to which native peoples had no natural immunity, swept across the continent with terrifying speed, wiping out entire communities and causing a catastrophic loss of life. The newcomers also brought a completely different way of seeing the world, especially when it came to the land. For native nations, land was not something that an individual could own, buy, or sell. It was a shared resource, a sacred trust, the source of life for the entire community. Europeans, however, arrived with the concept of private property and a desire for land and resources. The story of native peoples did not end with the closing of the frontier or their forced relocation onto reservations. In fact, a new chapter of struggle and resilience was just beginning. Life on the reservations was incredibly difficult, often marked by poverty, poor healthcare, and a lack of economic opportunity. the United States government continued to push policies aimed at breaking up tribal communities and erasing their cultural identities. Despite these immense pressures, the drumbeat of Native culture never truly fell silent. Within their communities, elders worked tirelessly to keep the old ways alive. They held on to their languages, even if it meant speaking them only in whispers. They continued their ceremonies, sometimes in secret, to maintain their spiritual connection to the world and to each other. This quiet, determined preservation was an act of incredible strength and defiance. The 20th century saw the rise of a new kind of resistance. In recent decades, a remarkable and inspiring movement has been growing across Native America, a cultural and linguistic renaissance. For generations, Native languages were suppressed. Children were punished for speaking the words of their ancestors in government-run boarding schools. But today, a powerful effort is underway to bring them back. Tribal communities are creating language immersion schools where children are taught their regular school subjects entirely in their native tongue. This rebirth is about so much more than just words. Cultural renewal is also blossoming in the arts. A new generation of Native artists, musicians, writers, and filmmakers is creating powerful work that both honors tradition and speaks to contemporary life. You can see it in stunning pottery that uses ancient designs in modern forms, or in paintings that blend traditional symbolism with contemporary styles. At the heart of this movement is the fight for sovereignty and self-determination. For centuries, the story of Native Americans has been clouded by myths and misconceptions, often created by movies, television shows, and outdated textbooks. One of the most common myths is the idea of the vanishing Indian, the belief that Native peoples and their cultures are a thing of the past, destined to disappear. This could not be further from the truth. Today, there are over 5 million Native Americans in the United States, belonging to 574 federally recognized nations. Their communities are growing, and their cultures are not only surviving but are experiencing a powerful resurgence. Native history is not over, it is a living, breathing story that continues to unfold every day. Another persistent myth is that of the savage or the noble savage. Both of these images are dehumanizing because they deny the simple fact that Native peoples were, and are, just that, people. They were complex human beings with all the same strengths, flaws, joys, and sorrows as anyone else. Many people also mistakenly believe that all Native Americans lived in tipis and wore feathered headdresses. The history of the first peoples of this continent is not a closed chapter tucked away in the past. It is a living story, a continuous thread that is woven deeply into the fabric of America today and will continue to shape its future. The legacy of Native Americans is all around us, whether we recognize it or not. It is in the names of our states, cities, and rivers, from Massachusetts and Ohio to Mississippi and Seattle. It is in the foods that grace our tables, like corn, potatoes, and squash, which were first cultivated by ingenious Native farmers. And it is in the very ideals of our democracy, which were partly inspired by the governance of the Iroquois Confederacy. This legacy reminds us that there are other ways of seeing the world, other ways of relating to the earth, and to one another. In an age of environmental crisis, the traditional Native worldview, which emphasizes respect for nature, sustainability, and thinking 7 generations ahead, offers profound wisdom that is more relevant than ever. It challenges us to think of the land not as a commodity to be exploited, but as a sacred trust to be cared for. The journey of Native peoples, marked by both incredible achievement and profound injustice, holds important lessons for all of us about resilience, justice, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Their story is a crucial part of the American story, and without it, our understanding of who we are as a nation is incomplete. Listening to Native voices, learning their histories, and honoring their contributions is not just about correcting the past. It is about building a more just and truthful future. It requires us to move beyond stereotypes and to see Native peoples as they are, modern citizens of sovereign nations with rich histories and vital futures. The drumbeat of Native history continues. It echoes in the language classes, in the tribal council meetings, in the art galleries, and at the powwows. So, the next time you look at a map of America, remember the stories that came before the lines were drawn. Remember the great cities, the diverse nations, and the deep wisdom that blossomed on this land for millennia. It is a story of survival, of rebirth, and of hope. It is a story that belongs to all of us, and it is a story that is far from over, Its next chapters are being written right now and they promise to enrich us all.